Hi, my name is Colin Kincaid. I'm a junior at Winston Churchill High School, but just as a little nod to Mr. Elrich, I went to Cclmbrs Park Middle School. And before I get into my big concern about the curfew, I want to address something Ms. Florine said. You talked about the teens not having a huge impact on businesses. There is a provision of the curfew under which businesses who knowingly provide services to minors under the effect of the curfew can be fined as well. So I'm aware that this is not a huge impediment to the businesses, but I believe it's unfair. But on to the main premise of my argument. In the Maryland Criminal Law, section 10201, subsection C, there are statements such as, a person may not willfully act in a disorderly manner that disturbs the public peace. A person may not willfully fail to obey a reasonable and lawful order that a law enforcement officer makes to prevent a disturbance of the public peace. These laws, in addition to the ones that exist about about noise pollution and other public disturbances, already cover so many of the topics that the curfew claims to be solving. Now, I want to know what exceptions to these existing laws the curfew will actually affect in real-world situations. And I want to talk about Mr. Rice's comment about the safety. The way I see it, if my parents work hard their whole lives to live in a really nice area like Montgomery County, and they want to say, Colin, you want to go running at 2 a.m. in the summer? That's fine. What gives you the authority to tell them, no, we're going to parent your children, say that they can't be out if you think it's safe for them? Also, Mr. Riemer, you talked about modest expectations and the exceptions that the curfew allows. So I want to cite many modest expectations that were expected of people throughout history that have later been deemed unconstitutional, riding in the back of the bus, for one. But the exceptions also, my club here has read the entire curfew, and the exceptions part was particularly interesting because it talked about any exception under the First Amendment rights. So in essence, I could say, I am practicing my right of assembly or my right to peaceful nonviolent protest by saying I'm protesting the curfew being out past midnight. One last thing. Mr. Elrich, you talked about the incident in Silver Spring and saying how difficult it was to apprehend the children because they scattered and reconvened later. How would the curfew change that? I'm confused because under the existing laws, you could already apprehend them if they looked as if they were going to disturb the peace. And if they didn't look as if they were going to disturb the peace, then supposedly they're not the ones you're going to be targeting with this curfew. So I want to know what this curfew actually will do for the county.
I want you to know that with respect to the law that you cited, I cited that law to the county executive's people and to our state's attorney for that very same reason. I don't know why that law is insufficient. So that's part A. Part B will be Councilmember Rice very quickly. Part C will be Councilmember Riemer very quickly. And Part D will be Councilmember Elrich very quickly, so we can get to the other ones.
So I'm going to skip the legal one and jump right to parental involvement. And I absolutely agree with you, and that's the reason why there is an exception that's a part of this that says that if a parent directs you, there are a multitude of instances where a parent says, that you're a single parent and your child, and you have a baby sister and they want you to go out and get some formula. You're exempt. So you're not going to get pulled over, and you're not going to get accosted. You have a note that can get you out of that. So as long as the parents, so we're not trying to trump parental rights. I think that's the key. The point is that what we're trying to do is make sure that those children that are out there that might end up sneaking out from the house without their parents' knowledge. How many of you said that you didn't have curfews? And that was striking. I'm going to tell you the question that Councilmember Florine asked and said didn't have curfews, those are the ones that we're talking about. We're not talking about the people who have curfews, who have parents that are involved. But keep in mind, not all parents are involved.
Excuse me.
And I want to be very sir, I'm not talking about you, sir. And please, let me finish. I'm not saying
You
you.
slander you are. I'm involved.
Sir,
and
I said not every parent is involved. rights. And what we're trying to do is help them with that. Keep in mind that what happens is that I understand. You know, I've got a 16-year-old son that's at BCC, okay? And I understand, you know, he and I have had this conversation and been back and forth about the validity of the curfew and whether or not it makes sense. And the key is that I want to stress to you that those kids, you know, I heard the comment about the $450 at the 7-Eleven wasn't a big deal. But let me tell you why it would have been a big deal. If one of those 25 kids had decided to pull out a gun and shoot the clerk or assault the clerk, you'd have 24 accessories to murder or accessories to assault. That is not a joke. That is not something to laugh at. That is something that can ruin someone's life. And I take that very seriously, and I take that responsibility on me to make sure that kids that might make bad decisions, not bad kids, but kids that might make bad decisions, need to be protected from instances like that.
One thing.
There are voter registration forms outside of this room. The Board of Elections is here. I encourage anyone who is over the age of 16, I believe you can register to vote now from the age of 16 forward. If you want to bring a stack with you and give it to your friends, register to vote. It's an even better way to be heard than coming here tonight. I want to add that I think monitoring enforcement for constitutional rights is critical, and I do not believe that it's acceptable to have a policy that violates our standards of racial profiling. So I am going to make sure that any policy will have protections for monitoring and reporting. And the other thing I want to say about, are there existing criminal statutes that could be enforced more aggressively? One of the things I like about the curfew is it's a civil violation. It will not force you into the criminal justice system if you are a violator. If you have a record and you are out at 2 a.m., it's not going to be the thing that tips you over into going to jail. This will be a civil violation. It's a $100 ticket. This is a much more effective way to deal with a very minor violation.
So you asked how it would have affected the incident in Silver Spring. And the way the police put it is this: if they're, just because you're gathered doesn't mean that you're committing a crime. And it's not like obvious, you don't wear a sign that says 15 minutes ago I'm planning a fight. The police feel that if they had had this as a tool, that they could have walked up to a group of kids and said, you know, midnight, there's going to be a curfew here. And if you're under 17 or under, you're going to have to leave. And they believe that that might have been enough to dissuade enough of the kids to leave at that point, that it would reduce the number of people staying behind and reduce the likelihood of a confrontation because the numbers would have been reduced. Again, this is, I'm not a policeman. I don't go out and do this stuff. This is the police's view of how this tool might have been helpful.
Ms. Kennedy, we've got 12 minutes and.
Yeah.